Popular Pokemon. Am I right? You know the ones. The ones that are universally loved and adored, whether it's through the hand of Gamefreak Marketing, or because we as the Pokemon community collectively looked at this oddball design with beady eyes, a perfect smile, and a type combination only weak to grass, and we collectively decided this was the best thing ever made, and began to value it more than what Game Freak actually wanted us to like. I think that's enough intro for this segment. Let's just hop right into the most popular Pokemon of each generation. And of course, it starts with this Pokemon. I mean, it makes sense. Honestly, I don't know who else we would have expected. The mascot of the entire series. Yeah, maybe people who play Pokemon more religiously and have found other favorites may not be as fond of it as your average Joe. But it cannot be denied how much of an effect that this cute little electric rat had on the world at one point. When Pokemania had taken over the world back in the older days of the franchise, this guy was everywhere, and it only made sense as to why. It has one of the most simple and appealing designs in the entire franchise, being marketable for all types of people alike. Pikachu is the Pokemon. It's Ash's faithful companion, it's the captain of the Rising Volt Tacklers, it's the first Pokemon to ever be put in Smash, etc. To not run into Pikachu is pretty seldom, and that's arguably why it's so popular. But honestly, despite the fact that some deem Pikachu is overrated and not worthy of the pushing that Game Freak uses it for, I'd actually like to disagree with that statement and take a moment of time to defend Pikachu. Its design is perfect for what it set out to do, and if not for Pikachu being as marketable as it was, Pokemon might not have been as big as it is today. We only have Pikachu to thank for this, and honestly, I can't bring myself to ever dislike Pikachu, nor will I ever. You know, this is a bit of a tough one, but there's a part of me that unironically wants to say that it might not be this Pokemon. While it's definitely popular and well received and deserving of said attention, I think the competition for the most popular is pretty tough. I mean, this is the same game that gave us Typhlosion, Feraligatr, Furret, Scizor, Skarmory, Kingdra, the Demon Cow, yours truly, and of course the Pokemon that in my eyes takes the list, Tyranitar. But Tyranitar is ubiquitously loved by the Pokemon fanbase from what I can tell. Of course, it's pretty clear as to why, really. It's basically the Pokemon equivalent of Godzilla, and finally evolving your Pupitar into one just felt good after going through all the hassle to pick it up so you can use it. It also is the very first non-legendary weather setter, which gives it a special place in a lot of people's hearts for being the pioneer of something that no one else at the time even thought to do. It also being in Pokemon Forever, belonging to the Iron Mask Marauder, and being quite threatening and hard to take down in that movie only gave it further props. Tyranitar is a classic, and one of the only two pseudo-legendaries that isn't a dragon type, giving it a further level of uniqueness to make it stand out. If there's a Pokemon that I respect more than most, and I can say everyone else does too, it's the lad known as Tyranitar. Speaking of dragons, while I tried to avoid talking about the legendaries due to their power and being very obvious choices for big strong guy type lists, I would be doing a disservice to every single Gen 3 fan on the planet if this wasn't a Rayquaza segment. It, along with Groudon and Kyogre, have one of the most foreboding and iconic themes in the history of Pokemon. I was listening to it while writing out this portion of the video, and I got chills up my spine just from the sheer power that the theme evoked. Pokemon Emerald is one of my favorite Pokemon games of all time, taking the solid second place spot. Not to mention, of course, it's another Pokemon with an absolutely perfect design. It's what an intimidating and powerful dragon that's capable of quelling the Titans of Earth and Sea should look like. And seeing it come down in Pokemon Emerald to prevent the Titans from destroying the region, chef's kiss. And this goes without mentioning any anime fan's potential first introduction to Rayquaza, where it completely blasted Deoxys without a shred of mercy, and would wind up fighting it again in Destiny Deoxys. Its Mega Evolution looks like it can grant my wish when I gather all 7 Dragon Balls as well. It would also be a disservice to not mention that this Black Rayquaza is a plot point in Pokemon Horizons, which I've done a little research about, and I'm looking forward to see where that whole thing goes. Honestly, I can never get sick of seeing Rayquaza. Finally, I can dedicate a segment to Goku. I love Goku. We all love Goku. Goku has to be one of the most iconic anime characters of all time, and the effect that Dragon Ball has on society is unmatched. The amount of references to Dragon Ball and Super Saiyan in many other shows and forms of media is unmatched. I think it's safe to say that Super Saiyan is the greatest transformation of all time. So you could imagine me back as a kid, back in Generation 4, when I picked up Super Smash Bros. Brawl for the first time, played through Subspace Emissary, beat it, and then eventually stumbled my way onto Lucario's final smash, where he flies up and does a Kamehameha. My mind was blown, and the dopamine released from my brain sent me into a wild spree of joy. They did it. They put Goku in Smash. Anyways, yeah, this is a Lucario segment. Lucario and the Mystery of Mew, the Riolu egg that Riley gives you, it being on Cynthia's team, the placement in Smash where he is voiced by Goku, the advent of Mega Lucario, and its place in Pokken Tournament basically ensured that it could and would always be popular. And honestly, I can't really be too mad about how much attention Lucario wound up getting. It looks like a jackal, and last I checked, it's based on the Egyptian god of death and mummification. Everything about it stands out, and it's pretty freaking sick. When thinking of Pokemon from Generation 5, there are truly a select few that come to mind for a majority of the player base. Hydreigon, due to its place on Ghetsis' team and how brutal it can be to face, Excadrill, due to its unique typing and amazing competitive attributes, along with it being buddied up with the most popular Pokemon of Gen 2, and the one that I am pretty confident flies above all else in terms of popularity, the temporary replacement for the Sun, the most popular Quiver Dancer to ever live, and Alder's proud ace. Volcarona is a Pokemon that's the first of its type combination, and was one of the coolest Pokemon to run into in the post-game of Black and White. Of course, there's also the Larvesta egg you can obtain if you explore a little past Nuvema Town once you get Surf. But given the levels of Black and White, you still wouldn't be seeing Volcarona until the post-game, even if you lugged Larvesta around for your entire playthrough. That's just how amazing Volcarona is. It's a Pokemon of such power that it had to be locked behind that champion title just so the game knew you were worthy of wielding one. Not to mention with how it somehow keeps getting better in every generation's competitive singles, and officially getting banned to Ubers recently, there's no doubt in my mind that if any Gen 5 Pokemon has lived in the head of the Pokemon players, it's the Solar Moth. Even Game Freak loves it, given that Slitherwing and Iron Moth exist. The only other Pokemon that got that much attention is the underrated treasure known as Donphan. It's kind of hard to say that it isn't Greninja, when Greninja, back in its heyday, won an entire popularity poll and was at one point the single most popular Pokemon in the world. Of course, being in Smash Bros. And having access to Ash Greninja probably played a part in this, but the results speak for itself. The cool Ninja Frog just stood out among everything in Gen 6. It has a sleek design, a very cool gimmick, and Ash Greninja was one of the coolest things to happen in the Pokemon anime. Not to mention the fact that it's just an awesome Pokemon overall, and it's also got one of the coolest shiny designs in existence. It's been years since it happened, and people are still pretty upset over Ash vs. Alon because of how Ash got robbed in that fight. When I think of Generation 7, there is only one Pokemon that truly comes to mind for me, and that's Mimikyu. Mimikyu feels like the Generation 7 Pokemon. It's a unique take on the Pikachu clone archetype that we tend to get in each new Pokemon generation, and is the first ever Ghost and Fairy type. Honestly, I think making it Jesse's partner in the anime also worked a great deal for it, and it was always very splendid to see on screen. Pretty sure every Pokemon fan I have ever met has had positive feelings about Mimikyu, and honestly, so do I. I love the disguise gimmick, and how underneath the disguise is a Pokemon that wants to be as popular as the mascot. But sadly, it can never be as popular as Pikachu, because not only is it trying to compete with Pikachu, but also anyone or anything that sees what's under the cloak will probably die. You know, I'm gonna blame a particular internet funny man for this one, but I'm pretty sure it's Dracovish. Maybe it's Dragapult and I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure Dracovish has taken this spot as the most popular Generation 8 Pokemon. At least I think. I mean, Mr. Fish fills the niche of being this very simple and derpy design, all while hitting deceptively hard with the power of Strong Jaw boosted Fishious Rend. The water and dragon typing is amazing defensively and solid offensively, and it being a member of Ash's team in Pokemon Journeys definitely gave it some sunshine too. The only issue with Dracovish for me is that there really isn't much else to talk about outside of Alpharad, and the fact that it got banned in Sword and Shield singles. It's simple, to the point, and effective. And I think it's the single most standout Pokemon in Generation 8. There is only ever going to be one option for this spot, and that's the poll winner herself. Despite competition with the many bangers of Gen 9, there was only ever going to be one Pokemon that stood above the rest in Scarlet and Violet. The little gremlin, the Big Hammer herself, and the Gen 9 Mon that I have seen the single most fan art of. As a dedicated fan of this absolute unit, I am proud to present Tinkaton. And I'm also proud to have an excuse to talk about it. It has a kick-ass design and cool lore. This thing steps up to Corviknight and Bisharps and sends them packing in order to use their metals for its hammer. It goes wherever it wants and plunders whatever it wants, taking its treasure back with it to its base. It's the entire reason why we have to use Squawkabilly as our means of transportation. And if it were ever going to Galar, the entire economy would crash. This Pokemon manages to hit every single point design-wise, and every time I send it out into battle, I can't help but begin to laugh when I see it on the screen because of how stupid, silly, and immaculate the design is. In a game full of bangers, you'd think it would be hard to find which one stands above the rest. But ironically, Tinkaton manages to stand above them all, and atop a mountain of steel nonetheless. And that's what I got for today for the most popular Pokemon of each generation. Of course, there are some that I absolutely can see myself getting incorrect. And if there was a Pokemon that was deemed more popular, let me know in the comment section below. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching my content. With Scarlet and Violet DLC on the way, we have a lot to be excited for. Not just that though, but I've got a bunch of other cool series planned throughout the year that I'm sure you guys will love. If you want to support my other forms of content, over on Mystic Reads, I read fanfics. One of them right now is Road to be a Pokemon Master Kanto Edition, where Ash and Serena start from the very beginning and journey through Kanto together. On Mystic Umbreon Shorts, I do other exclusive Pokemon content such as Pokemon Facts, and on Saturdays I upload my top 5 favorite Pokemon of a type. Anyways, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have an excellent day.